160 mile per hour Category 5 hurricane. Again, you may know that Category 5 is high as the categories go. It's tropical storm and then 1 through 5, and 5 being the strongest. Through this evening, there still could be some intensification. Again, it's 160 right now. The official forecast is 165. Regardless, 160, 165. If it's this strong at landfall, we're looking at some very serious, possibly catastrophic results out of this just with the wind alone. But notice the path of this, the direction it's going over mountainous areas again, which just makes the rainfall and the flooding that much worse. You get more moisture wrung out essentially because of the upflow. The orographic lift is what it's called. You get more rain out of the systems, out of the atmosphere, period. With this much tropical moisture, it's that much more. And then that water can get funneled down and go into streams and creeks, and it can just be an absolutely catastrophic situation, unfortunately, here. As far as the rapid intensification goes, if it seems like it went from about nothing to a lot, it did. It was from Saturday morning, it was a tropical storm, barely, and then a hurricane by Category 1 hurricane by yesterday morning. So, a little bit under 24 hours. And then from yesterday afternoon, a Category 1 hurricane to a Category 4 hurricane 12 hours later. A sign of rapid intensification, extreme for any time of the year, but especially, Jackie, here in November.
Well, Iota is not a threat to the United States, and that's the good news. But we have been hit hard so far this hurricane season, with population and coastal areas on the rise and sea level rise as well. This is a formula for big trouble. Our Chris Warren explains.
Greatness of living in paradise totally outweighs the risk involved.
And Don Moe knows about risk, especially when you look at the number of hurricanes that have come through in the 16 years he's been in his Cypremort Point, Louisiana home, including Rita.
When I got back and drove up with 1.5 feet of mud all over the road and everywhere, there was no more stairs.
Moe is not alone in loving where he lives. The population along the Atlantic and Gulf Coasts grew from nearly 52 million in 2000 to almost 60.5 million in 2019. According to the Census Bureau, that's an increase of nearly 8.5 million people. So when a hurricane hits, there is a huge potential for widespread destruction. The Atlantic and Gulf Coasts have taken a beating over the last few decades. From 2000 to 2018, 15 $10 billion+ hurricanes made landfall in those areas, 7 of them in just 2 successive years, 2004 and 2005. Though the final tally isn't in, Hurricane Laura may be added to that list.
It is accurate to say that if we have more population in the areas where we see the disasters, more folks are going to need to rebuild and recover. And the compounding effect, it makes it more difficult and more expensive. If we don't build more resiliently and we continue this cycle, what we call the build, destroy, rebuild cycle, where we build in a way that nature can easily knock it down, then we are going to, over time, build ourselves into a situation where people don't recover at all.
And it's not just hurricanes that impact the coast and costs.
Land is sinking along a lot of the East Coast and Gulf Coast of the United States. So over the last couple decades, sea level has been rising in many places on the order of an inch every 5 to 6 years. As we look forward over the next few decades, that rate is expected to continue, if not pick up even further.
So building back from storms and adapting to sea level rise requires different costly approaches.
And it's a challenge that communities are going to face, especially those that are prone to the strong hurricanes, but also have high rates of sea level rise and are beginning to flood under sunny-day conditions already.
And beginning Tuesday, we'll have special coverage on the way a changing climate has shown itself during this year's tropical season and more. Join us for Climate 2020.